All right, not to make anyone feel bad if you got this wrong, but this is just basic. Do you know how to read and turn that into inequalities? This is an important skill for lots of questions that this skill is just one part of the question, but here it's the entire question. That's why I don't know how I'm going to drag this out to a minute. Basically, they tell us that this value of S is somewhere between 0.6 inches per hour. That's the minimum, and then has a maximum rate of 1.8 inches per hour. I don't know. To me, even just only choice D even makes any sense, right? It's the only one that even has those numbers. For a question 14, we're already halfway through the section. This seems very, very easy. Why would someone do 2.4? Yeah, I guess you're adding them, but like, why would you do that? Choice C is completely ignoring the 1.8. Choice B is completely ignoring the 0.6. So the only thing I could think is if you get this wrong, is because it's more that you didn't know how to read than you didn't know how to do math. So, just, I don't know, read the whole question every time. The only other thing I'll say here is that what we're doing with this choice D is we're taking two inequality rules and we're putting them into one. But if we only had one of those rules, I think we would do something a little bit different, right? So let's focus on just this part, that the minimum rate of snowfall was 0.6. If I were just asked to write that by itself, I would write it like this. I would say, okay, that S is greater than or equal to 0.6. So notice that when I have this S and the 0.6 in choice D, it's kind of backwards, right? It's just out of habit that I generally want to put whatever the variable is first when I'm writing an inequality. But it doesn't have to be that way. The thing is, inequalities are like reversible, but they're only reversible in the way that we have to make sure that the inequality is opening towards the same side, right? So notice that in the one that I wrote, the inequality is opening towards the S, because we're basically saying S is the bigger number. Since 0.6 is as small as this thing can go, S could be 0.7, it could be 1, it could be 1.2, right? So all of those are possible, meaning S is still going to be greater than 0.6. But for the purposes of sorting through other answer choices, sorting through these answer choices, it looks like we're going to have to reverse that and put the 0.6 on the other side. But when we did, notice the S, the inequality symbol still opens towards the S, right? Because that's the bigger number. So just remember, you might, when you do read these inequality stories, you might have a kind of like go-to way of writing it, a way that's intuitive for you, maybe just intuitive based on the way that they wrote the sentences. But the answer choices can flip it just for the sake of like keeping you on your toes and doing something different. So you have to be able to move it around if you need to match an answer choice. So that is a possible thing. I still think that's a pretty basic idea about inequalities, but I just figured I'd remind you since maybe it might matter on a harder question.